And we are live. Um, Way to go, Lakers! We beat the Celtics. Yay! Not really. No, you aren't going to get much of that. So if you're looking for celebratory Laker fans after that overtime thriller, uh, hop onto something Lakers Nation makes. Um, I'm joined tonight by Gary, Matt, and Ryan. Matt was actually at the game. What was the environment like, Matt?
The one positive was that it actually felt. I mean, it's kind of sad at the same time, but it actually felt like a playoff game. The crowd was super into it in the fourth. They were rooting on Nick Young. When Jeremy Lin just like kind of took over, the crowd was super into the game. So from a crowd environment aspect, it was actually kind of fun.
I mean, that's the lone positive from having back to back really bad years is that those golf clappers are kind of they aren't interested in going to the game, and actual fans are now priced into the game, and it makes for a more exciting environment, you would think. Um, Gary, you were working during the game, and you're getting your updates on the phone. As you saw the game get pushed miraculously into overtime. What were you thinking there?
Uh, it was really weird because, I mean, as a Laker fan, it's always nice to beat the Celtics, but like this year, I guess is kind of an exception because you're obviously rooting for what's best for the organization, and yeah, not being able to watch, I don't know, I was kind of torn. I mean, at that point, I was like, just lose. Like, you don't deserve to win the game if you blow a 9-point lead in like what, a minute and a half. So. Um, yeah, it was just really really weird because I saw we were up 9 and I kind of stopped following it and I looked down and saw that they had forced overtime. So so many things were going through my mind, but yeah, I was kind of bummed that we actually regrouped and pulled it out.
Ryan, you've kind of spearheaded the whole who gives a crap if it's the Celtics? Like it's a loss or a win is a win in this scenario. Uh, you weren't feeling very good based on your tweets throughout the game, and then got pushed into overtime. After it got pushed into overtime, what were you thinking as it ended? I guess.
Why I thought we were gonna the like I was basically resigned to the fact that we were gonna win when there was like 5 minutes left. So I was like, oh whatever, we're gonna win. And then we were closing out the game, and obviously Young missed the free throw, and then Avery Bradley hit the three, and I was like, oh my God, we lose this game somehow. Um, and then we go to overtime, and of course, like the Celtics didn't score for like the first 3 minutes of overtime, and then obviously we won. I was pretty bummed. I mean, the fact that they just gave us like false hope, like that there's a chance they're gonna lose the game, it's so much worse.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that team is still a game and a half out of the playoff picture there in the East, and they couldn't get a stop in overtime against this god awful Laker team.
Although
Um,
it just shows like Wes Johnson and Jeremy Lin combined 19 of 26 from the field, and we still had to take the Celtics, who were pretty bad, to overtime to beat them. And those
Well,
guys had like the easily their best games of the season.
that actually that actually brings up a point I wanted to talk to you guys about it. The past few weeks, obviously the emphasis has been on playing the young guys and getting them minutes and developing them and all this. And Byron hasn't really worried about playing the hot hand, so to speak, in the fourth quarters of games. Like in the last game, Clarkson had been playing well, Kelly played well, and they didn't see the court for like the last 15 minutes of the game. So, and tonight, Boozer, who was a DNP in the last game, starts at power forward. So it's like, to me, Byron is tanking the games that don't mean anything to him, like all the other games. But tonight he wanted this one, and he went for it. Because like Wesley Johnson, I don't know how many minutes he played, but
33.
yeah, so he had a decent amount of minutes. Jeremy Lin played well, and he got plenty of minutes, especially down the stretch. Nick Young, Boozer. You look at Clarkson, he played 17 minutes, and it's just judging off his stats, he didn't look that bad. And Yeah, so it was like the emphasis on playing the young guys went out the window tonight because it was the Celtics, and Byron's, still obviously caught up in the rivalry and everything.
Although last game, was it
Hold on one second. We're going to fine Rahul Mohan $1,500 for joining 5 minutes into the podcast. Who the hell do you think you are, Nick Young? What the hell?
Sorry.
And I see trophies back there, and I've still yet to see a doll like Rahul. I'm telling you, Rahul.
how much did you buy those trophies for?
Not much.
It must be like fourth place trophies then if you didn't have to pay much for them.
Like participation trophies, like the ones from Little League that everyone gets.
Sorry, Ryan. I cut you off there because Nick Young.
Rahul rudely cut me off. No, Gary was saying how Clarkson didn't play that much because he wanted like this game or whatever, but Price played more minutes than Clarkson against the Nets, and Lynn and Clarkson both played 24 minutes too. So I don't know. I hope it's trending to where Byron's just starting to play Clarkson like less and less, which doesn't make sense because he's playing well. So I hope it doesn't continue that way.
Well, and Sacre played 11 minutes today too. I mean, he's been playing far more than that lately, even though we kind of don't want to see that. But
Tark Black played 4 minutes. 4.
Yeah, and he's been starting in recent games. So I honestly think Byron set the tank aside tonight and like fully went after this game because it's a rivalry.
And congratulations, Byron. You threw everything you have at the damn Celtics and barely beat them in overtime. You freaking prick. All right,
and the game wouldn't have even gone to overtime if they would have just fouled Avery Bradley.
Oh, he's so terrible at his job. Matt, you want to add something before I throw stuff?
Yeah, I was going to say to the not fouling part, I don't know if he's ever going to foul when up by 3 late in the game. I think he's just stubborn and he's going to let him shoot a 3 every single. But that's because this is like the second or third time this has happened. I think he's just going to stick with his old school mentality.
I was going to say, that's because 3-pointers don't win games or championships, so letting him shoot it is
of course
good. Never mind the percentage game,
Well, like, he said, it burnt us the one time, and now we have to, rethink our stuff. Yeah, way to rethink, Byron. Yep. Rahul, what were your takeaways from the game?
I just felt like the Lakers played with our emotions, which is pretty ruthless. I think just like Ryan, I just turned the game off when we went up by like 9. And I think Nick Young scored or something, and then like 5 minutes later I log on, I see the box score, and then say Avery Bradley hits two 3-pointers, he ties the game, he sends it into overtime. So, and then in overtime again we catch fire. It was a roller coaster. I mean, geez.
Nick Young was even playing defense. It was wrong. There's so much wrong with that game.
Well, that's why going forward, I'm not really that concerned about winning games because it's it took, like I said earlier, it took a Lynn shooting 10 of 15, Wes Johnson shot 9 of 11, Nick Young 5 of 9. It's all those guys had great games, and we still had to take the Celtics to overtime to beat them.
Even Ronnie Price had, he was playing he was going all out after what happened with Isaiah Thomas. He had 5 assists, 4 rebounds, and 4 steals.
That's not going to happen very often.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, we can't count on that too often.
Well, yeah.
So Ryan, oh, go ahead, Gary.
That's another good point with Isaiah Thomas. I saw that he got ejected, and that obviously makes a big difference because he's always kind of been a Laker killer. He's always been one of those point guards that always gives us problems.
He and everybody else in the league.
Tonight he was the Celtics' best player. And he only played 25 minutes.
Well, that's what to get back to the minutes allocation. What was frustrating watching that game is that you're watching a better run organization. I'm not going to mince words here. You're looking at a coach who is working with the front office, and you know they're on the same page. You look at their minute allocation. You got Marcus Smart starting, playing 31 minutes. You have Avery Bradley, 42 minutes. Tyler Zeller, another young player, 36 minutes. And all those guys are going to have their bumps in the road, but he's still going to keep them in, you know. I mean, even Isaiah Thomas, he played 25 minutes. He got ejected. It was his debut, but that's, you know, the organization brought him in because they want to see how he plays along with their guys. And you can see, you know, Brad Stevens is working with them, whereas with Byron Scott, we have no idea, like game to game, who might we see when. You know, like, what better situation for Jordan Clarkson to learn from than playing in a Celtics Lakers rivalry game that went to overtime. He's going to get all these touches against another young point guard. The only reason I had fun watching the game at points today was because Smart and Clarkson were going back and forth, and Byron pulls him after 17 minutes. Just get the heck out of here, Byron. Brian, I mean, you mentioned Clarkson's play. Were you able to watch while he and Smart were going at it? You said before the podcast, actually, that Clarkson looked like the better player.
Yeah, I mean, Smart didn't really play that well this game. He was terrible from behind the arc. His defense, he did have a few good defensive plays, but also Clarkson did blow by him one time and got an and one layup. I mean, I thought Clarkson outplayed him, but he's also 2 years older, so it's not like fair to say that he's going to be the better player or he has the brighter future. But it was nice to see that our second round pick outplayed the number 6 pick of the Celtics.
Yeah, I was pretty bummed when Smart, you know, I thought for a second there, I was happy that the Lakers wound up with Randall, but I was kind of I had my eye on Smart as well, and yeah, it was interesting to see that a late second rounder, whom the Lakers basically bought, outplayed him for portions of the game, and then, you know, played half as much as he did because Byron's Byron. Matt, how did that matchup look in person?
I agree with completely what you said. Clarkson was, I felt, awesome for someone so young, right in his first year. It was awesome to watch in the beginning. The first quarter, as Ryan said, he had that nice and one drive, and it was just a bummer to not see that like continue throughout the game. It would have been cool to have like, you know, Clarkson versus Smart late in the game. It would have been fun to watch, but I think both are going to be solid pros going forward.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, the biggest thing, I think Darius Soriano, who runs Forum Blue and Gold, tweeted this out today, that it's just nice to see Clarkson not getting intimidated by really anybody. I mean, the game started. Remember how the game started with Smart picked his pocket, went back the other way for a clear path foul, and Clarkson just kind of gathered himself up. And I think hit a jumper a play or two later, basically on Smart. So I continue to love what I see from Clarkson, and continue to hate what I see from Lord Byron. If you had whatever the opposite of the tank. Well, we'll go tank master in general tonight. Who would it have been if the Lakers had taken care of business late, Gary?
I'd have to look at the box score. Give me a second. Gosh.
Yeah, no one really played too poorly, so I would just say, well, you can say this every game with Byron Scott.
Yeah, I was gonna
Hill
say.
didn't look that good.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jordan Hill was 3 of 9. Zachary didn't really contribute much, but he didn't play a whole lot. He had 2 rebounds and 1 assist. That was it. But no, I mean, we shot, 51% from the field as a team. So, I mean, like, we actually played pretty well for us, and, you know, to barely squeak out a win. Just kind of shows how bad we are as a team. But yeah, I don't know if you can give it to really any one guy. I guess Ed Davis had 26 minutes and only scored 5 points. And so, I mean, there's a couple guys, but nobody really, I guess, stood out. Head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah, I would have said Byron if the Celtics would have pulled it out in overtime because of that, not fouling thing again.
Yeah.
Ryan, you can weigh in on this too. But before the game, or as the game was going on early on, I sent out a series of tweets that it was striking to me that none of the players from those two finals where the Lakers and Celtics played against each other played in today's game. Right? I think I have that right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I found interesting is how far those teams have fallen in that short time frame. We're only talking about 5 years. In such a short time frame, they've fallen. And in my opinion, it has something to do with how those teams were built. In this day and age, it's just much more sustainable to grow through the draft and rebuild through youth. And that's what we're doing here. That's what the tanking thing has to do with that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the reason well, at least I think that like there are no players from those teams is, one, all the stars on those teams are pretty old. I mean, Pierce is in his mid to late 30s. Garnett's like 38. Ray Allen's not even in the league right now. And then Rondo, they could still have if they wanted to, but they obviously traded him away. And then for the Lakers, like Bynum had knee injuries. Odom just fell off. And then Powell he's still a good player, but he's getting older. And then obviously Kobe's banged up. So I think that just had to do more with age. But I mean, there's different ways you can rebuild those two teams. I mean, if you want to look at it, I mean, the Celtics got Rondo through the draft. The Lakers got Kobe and Bynum through the draft. So both teams were mixed of guys through the draft and through trades and through free agency.
Yeah, I would agree. I would just say that, because they were able to get, like the Celtics, I mean, they got Pierce through the draft too, right?
Yeah.
So, so through, in building, you have those building blocks that you get in the draft. Pierce first, Rondo was later. But, they were able to have that big four. By the end of it, they had a big four because Rondo turned out to perform so well, and they had flexibility to bring in role players and stuff. I just think that teams, in my opinion, fall off a cliff more when they rebuild that way, or when they retool that way. What do you think about that, Matt?
I agree. I think, the Lakers team, I mean, if you look at the 2010 team, I don't think we expected it to, last too much longer than it actually did. So the position we are right now, I'm actually not too surprised. But yeah, we just got to, we reiterate this all the time. We got to keep this pick, get two players in this draft, and I think the future is going to be bright pretty soon. But it just takes patience.
Yeah, Gary, what do you think about, when we talk about keeping the pick, and then, this in the grand scheme of things, meaningless game against the Celtics, right? I mean, what were your thoughts as the game was transpiring?
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, I was kind of torn on it because I really do hate Boston, but I was leaning towards, like, we just need to lose because, like, I've said this before, and I think everybody else has really. Like, when you look back on this season, when you look back at these two matchups, we're not going to care what the outcomes were because both of these teams aren't very good. Even if Boston still gets in at the 8th seed, they have zero chance basically of winning a title. So when you look back on it, it's like last year, there's not too many games that really stick out to me, like in terms of games I remember. I just remember that we got Julius Randle because of it. And, that's kind of how you have to look at each game. It's like just lose these meaningless games. We have 27 to go. Just, suffer through it, and we can get another nice piece to build around and, get this thing rolling a little bit.
I would have to agree. Well, I mean, the whole podcast and the vibe is kind of down. I mean, it's just a bummer. I wouldn't have minded winning if we went about it in a different way. Like, I hate winning when, like, Jeremy Lin and Carlos Boozer and Nick Young and Wesley Johnson are the reasons the Lakers win, because that doesn't do anything long term. But if Jeremy Clarkson or Jordan Clarkson and Tark Black and even Ed Davis, and who did play there at the end, and Ryan Kelly came in there and added to a victory, that gives us something more long term to build off of, right? Wouldn't you agree, Brian?
Well, yeah, like I always say, because I'm a Raiders fan, and like I was rooting. No, I wasn't like we were in like a similar position as the Lakers were now, where if we would have lost games, like say the Raiders, like we beat the Bills like the second to last week of the season, or the third to last week, or yeah, it was second to last, and that moved us from the second pick to the fourth, which is where we are now. But for the Raiders, I didn't mind it because the core of that team is young, and the players who are going to be around in the future.
Oh, we lost Ryan.
We lost them.
Yep.
Just to add one thing though,
Go ahead.
on a positive note, if they told us you'd start 1-7 in February, and that one win was against Boston, I would totally take that. So even though it's unfortunate we won a game,
Yeah.
if we're gonna win one game this month, this is the one to win.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. It's like if somebody told me, you're going to win one game in February, no matter what, who would you want it to be against? Obviously, you choose Boston. But Anthony and I talked about this before we went on. You kind of have to treat this like a playoff race. Like you're battling for position, and every single game matters. If you lost a game, you wouldn't say, it's okay. We just lost to Denver, for example. That's fine. It's like, no, you lost a game, and you might have lost you've fallen from the 2 to the 3 seed. Right. In the playoffs or something. So, I mean, every game is crucial, especially when the race is so tight and, we're under 30 games to go. So I think that's kind of how people have to look at it and not sympathize, I guess.
Right, like to take that a step further, to go back to the brighter days, when the Lakers beat the Celtics in that Game 7 series. Do you guys think, in your heart of hearts, that the Lakers would have won in Boston that Game 7?
Of course.
Let's be honest.
Of course. Oh yeah, of course they would.
No doubt about it.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and call bullshit. I mean, that game was a close game, and the Celtics came out firing. If they, that 13-point lead in the third quarter would be extremely hard to overcome in a rabid Boston Celtics, TD Banknorth Garden arena, and if you go back to that, to that season, I'd like to see what the actual gap was between the Lakers and the Celtics and the Lakers and whomever for the league's best record to ensure that Game 7 was in Staples Center.
All right.
And go ahead.
No, I pulled it up, and we were seven games better than them, so we had it easily. But
right.
The point is that you never know. I mean, like I tweeted earlier that, people are happy we got this win, but if come draft lottery time and we're one game and we end up finishing one game better than the Timberwolves, that game was the difference. If we would have lost and we're in a tie for third or second or whatever we would be in, and then we'd have better odds. So, I mean,
right, and we can.
All in all, we're still in good shape because we're still 5 games from fifth, and fourth isn't a terrible spot, but it's just a loss tonight would have been again like any loss. Like as long as we keep losing, we're in even better shape. It just sucks that we're 2 games from Minnesota now.
Yeah.
That was the only really positive I think about today was that Orlando won and we didn't gain any ground on them. Even though I think they're at the point where we're not going to catch them. They have 19 wins right now. Mm-hmm. I still think we'd be lucky to hit like over 20 wins. We might hit 20, but yeah, I mean we didn't gain any ground on them, which is huge. I think we're almost locked into the 4th spot, which is nice, but if you get into 3rd, that's as closest to a guarantee that you're going to get from one of the non-guaranteed spots, with a 96% chance of keeping the pick. The thing that just irritates me about it is now we're 2 games behind 2nd and 3rd, so it's like there's a little bit of a gap there now, and yeah, it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, at the end of the day, whatever. I mean, like my mom, I watched this with my family, so like I was sitting there dying because they're all rooting for the Lakers to win, and I'm just hammering away at the keyboard because I couldn't say things out loud that were really running through my head. And my mom was like, it's good for the fans, it's good for that or the other, and it's like, well, if you're a real fan, you should want to be as set for the rebuild as possible, and just playing those guys for a win, to me was Byron basically saying, F the rebuild. Like, I'm way more important. The Celtics, my rivalry with the Celtics is way more important. Oh, and side note, Byron saying, like, before the game that he couldn't see himself coaching the Celtics. Like, get the hell out of here with that stuff. After this, you're never going to get another job again. Like, congrats. You're proud and all that stuff. Fucker.
For the record, there were a lot more pro tank people at this game than earlier in the year, which is what we expected. But there definitely were people that were not rooting for a win.
Yeah. All right, so I guess we'll kind of wrap this up. I want to go with our random games. I'm springing this on the guys here. Tonight, as you all know, was the Oscar night. I have no idea who won anything, nor do I care. But I'd like to nominate guys from around the league for different performances. So, for Best Actor, who would you say is Best Acting right now, i.e. MVP? So, who would your MVP or Best Actor be right now?
Oh, I thought you were going to one direction with this. I thought you were going to say Best Actor tonight, and I was going to say Jeremy Lin. We all know he's not that good, but I think I might have a different take on this. Everybody kind of thinks Steph Curry. I'd honestly give it to James Harden at this point because I think he just does everything for that team. When he plays bad, they typically lose, and then that's kind of what the MVP is. You need him to do so much, and they've battled injuries and all kinds of things, and Josh Smith is there, and they're still winning games. So that kind of shows what Harden does for their team. He's the one guy that they can't lose. I think if the Warriors lost Steph Curry, obviously they take a hit, but I think there's so much talent around him that they would still be a solid team in the West. But yeah, I'd have to give it to James Harden as much as I hate to say that.
All right, Matt, and the Oscar for MVP/Best Actor goes to whom?
Okay, so who I think is gonna win right now would be Steph Curry, but I'd say I honestly Russell Westbrook for me is the MVP. Simply because I know the team's like not doing that well, but if he was also, he's not gonna win it. I'm just saying who I think would be my pick right now. Without Russell Westbrook, I don't know. I think they'd be in a much bigger hole, and I don't know if they had come back without Russell Westbrook, I don't even think they'd be the 8th seed right now. So he'd be my pick. But Steph Curry is obviously like the popular pick right now.
Yeah.
Ryan, who do you got?
It's Steph Curry.
Way to go with the easy answer.
He's the best.
Yeah, I gotta be creative.
Well, he's the best player on the best team, and then like for tonight, for example, when he lost it to Indiana, so it's like an example of how they're not as good when he's. Obviously, they're not as good when he's not on the floor. But like James Harden, yeah, I could see him winning it, although he went to Arizona State, so I have to automatically not consider him as a candidate. And then third, Steve Novak's up there. Thunder haven't lost a game since they acquired him.
I was waiting for that. I was like, there's no way he picks Russell Westbrook when Novak is on that team.
Oh, well, yeah. Obviously, Novak's the missing piece. They're 3-0 since acquiring him. It's pretty obvious.
I'm going to go ahead and nominate Kevin Durant's mom. You the real MVP. In light of his, saying that he hates those memes, I'm going to go ahead and bring that back. So whatever Kevin Durant's mom is, tears running down right now.
I was just saying maybe if we play we cater to his mom, she'll tell him he has to sign with the Lakers when he's
I was thinking proactively there.
Yeah, screw recruiting Durant. Just recruit his mom. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. All right, the next award, we'll go reverse order here. So Ryan, this one will be for you. But best picture, who's your title pick right now? Actually, no. That'll be next. We're gonna go best director, best coach of the year right now. Best director is coach of the year. Who do you got?
Mike Budenholzer. I mean, I think it's a pretty obvious choice. I mean, Atlanta's certainly not the most talented team, but they've been the second best team this year. I don't think really anyone saw it coming. They got blown out to I think it was Toronto the other day, but they're I don't know how he's not going to get that.
Who you got, Matt?
I think the Hawks are gonna fall off a little bit in the second half. So I think Steve Kerr is gonna eventually win the award.
Man,
That's interesting.
I was like torn between the two, and now they both chose each other one. You know, I would give the edge to Steve Kerr just because. I mean, I love what Budenholzer's done. Don't get me wrong. I think he's done more with less. But the fact that they play in the East, I think naturally the schedule is going to be a little more favorable. And Steve Kerr, he took like the Warriors. They basically have the same team from a year ago, and with Mark Jackson, they were a 6th seed 2 years in a row, and under Steve Kerr, they're the best team in the league record-wise. So it's I think just what he's done has just been phenomenal. I think, and the thing I noticed with them now, with Mark Jackson, it was just like freestyle, isolation basketball, force up bad shots, but they could get away with it because they have guys that can make them. And this year, they actually run a fluid offense, and they get good looks, and they move the ball around, and they're just a well-rounded team that executes extremely well.
Yeah, those are all great nominees, but for job security, I'm going to go ahead and nominate Byron Scott. He's been my coach of the year this year. We would not be here without his efforts, as is probably easily the worst coach in the league right now. Thank you, Byron, for being so terrible at your job. I really appreciate it. Now, if you could, be a little less terrible, and not make smart, the smarter moves and play veterans to win games, I'd really appreciate that. But way to go, douche. All right, so we got last one here. We have our title pick, our motion picture of the year. We'll go, Gary. You go ahead this time. Who's your title favorite right now?
I made a preseason prediction, and I said that I'll stick with it until they're eliminated. But before the season, I picked Oklahoma City to beat Chicago in the finals. So until one of them is gone, I'm just going to stick with that, even though it's clearly not the favorable choice right now. But I actually love what Oklahoma City did at the trade deadline. I just wish that they were better coached. Scott Brooks is terrible, but I thought they really got good return with Reggie Jackson. I think DJ Augustine kind of fits what they want to do better. He's obviously doesn't have like the upside or anything, but him with Cantor and Singler, I think they just got good complementary. Anyway, yeah, they got good complementary pieces, and that's really what they were lacking. They got some good depth, and obviously it's going to be tough because they're going to have to win probably 3 road series, but the West is wide open. I think all 8 teams really could win it because they're all so good. So I'll stick with Oklahoma City just because they're my preseason pick.
Matt, who do you got?
I'm going to stick with my preseason pick and take the Lake. No, I'm kidding. My preseason pick was Cavs over Thunder. I'm going to stick with that as well just because I'm stubborn. I think we're going to get LeBron and Durant part 2.
That'd be fun.
I got the Warriors over the Cavs in the finals. And I think the Thunder could. I mean, it sucks that they're probably gonna have to play Golden State in the first round. But I think if whoever wins that series, which is as crazy as it sounds, but whoever wins that first round between Golden State and OKC, if that is the matchup, I think that team's gonna end up winning the title.
OKC is really close to San Antonio. I mean, they could sneak into the 7.
I mean, they're 3.5 behind. I don't know. If I
Durant's
was
out
Golden
for a week now.
State, if I were Golden State, I would almost not tank to get the second seed, but I certainly wouldn't be happy with having to play the Thunder in the first round.
Well, it's either Thunder or Spurs. Neither one's too
I'd
far.
rather play the Spurs, as dumb as that sounds, but
Well, what worries me about the Warriors is I think their success hinges on the health of Andrew Bogut, and that guy just can't ever seem to stay healthy for like a full season. So, if he gets hurt come playoff time, I think that takes a huge hit and makes them extremely beatable. They still be really good. Don't get me wrong, but if they lose him, I just don't think that they have enough to win it all.
Yeah, I like all those choices, and I'm actually going to take this one seriously. I actually really like Memphis. I think this is kind of their year. I like the way their team is put together. Um, they've come ridiculously close. I mean, basically anybody has come ridiculously close in the Western Conference because all these series. I mean, you rarely see a blowout in a series. So I really like them. Marc Gasol in a contract year and Zebo, all those guys. I mean, if they win the title, that pretty much ensures that Marc Gasol sticks around. So they're kind of a dark horse pick, but I'm gonna roll with them.
Yeah, I like them a lot too, especially with Jeff Green. I thought that was a really great trade for them to do. So everybody kind of said that he's going to be like Rudy Gay, but Rudy Gay is just terrible because of his shot selection, and Jeff Green. He's a good offensive player, but he can actually stay within the flow of an offense, unlike Rudy
Right.
Gay. I think he fits better with what they want to do.
Right, Rudy Gay always kind of wanted to be the alpha male on that team, as Bill Simmons likes to say, and Green is perfectly content, just kind of floating around and then scoring when if they need it, and playing
Right.
defense on the guys that they need defense played. So I like the way their team is put together.
Yeah, and I love Tony Allen. That guy does not get enough credit for what he does defensively. In my eyes, he's the best perimeter defender in the league. And man, I'd love for him to be on the Lakers, honestly, even though he doesn't really give you much offensively. I just love his defense. He takes so much pride in that end, and you can just stick him on the other team's best player if they're a perimeter guy, and just you don't have to really worry because he doesn't need help usually. So. That's one of my favorite non-Laker players, just because of how tenacious he is on that end.
While I was interning Kobe's academy this past summer, they asked him who's the best player to guard you, and he said it was Tony Allen, and it's not even close in his career. So respect.
It wasn't Ruben Patterson.
No, I think the shot in 04 over him just canceled that out. In that last regular, you guys remember the last regular season game when?
Yeah, against Portland.
Yeah.
All right, so that'll pretty much do it here. We didn't laugh nearly as much in previous podcasts, but it came after a tanking loss tonight. We have more shows previewed or getting ready for the week. We'll discuss Kobe's media, like he's all over the damn place. Kobe is. So we'll discuss some of his comments. Mitch Kupchak going on there and saying a few things, and I'm sure the Lakers will provide us with plenty of other. Material throughout the week, so stay tuned. Also, Harrison, who hosted last show, shout out to him for holding down the fort while I was being old and retired up in Santa Barbara. He actually put together a WordPress page that I'll continue. I'm gonna get on there and upload all of our podcasts to. Do you guys want to make the announcement here, or do you want to hold off?
Let's hold off a little bit.
Yep. And again, because we're so good in this business, this is what they call a tease for the next podcast, or whenever Harrison is with us, seeing as that's his baby. So wait for the link, wait for the name, and wait for the terrible puns that are going to be coming your way. Thanks, Ryan, Matt, and Gary for hopping on tonight. Thank all of you who are in the Team Tank 15 mentions tonight. You guys continue to be great. I also want to give a shout out to that Palito guy. That picture that he gave us was incredible.
Awesome.
That was
That
fantastic.
was so good. It's now the background of our Twitter feed. When you go to our actual profile. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, can continue sending us questions. Continue rooting for this tank to roll on. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thanks. Go Lakers.